Imagine what it would be like to find yourself slowly changing into the exact opposite of who you were, at least on the surface, with nothing you could do about it. Lee Thomas makes his living on television, but he has a secret he's been keeping from the camera until now.
Got a nat bot package bot side.
I love when you do that, man. It's John Boyd. We'll have a conversation with the star of National Treasure Book of Secrets after the break.
For more than a decade now, Detroit television audiences have taken to Lee Thomas, and so have his colleagues.
Oh, Lee's great. I mean, yeah, he's a lot of fun. We're always laughing.
But hearty as the newsroom camaraderie may have been, Lee Thomas kept a distance and a secret.
I know Lee very well, but he's still a very, very private person.
For a time, he was so private he wouldn't be seen on the Detroit streets without his television makeup.
I stayed in the house because I don't want people to see what I look like.
How long did you try and keep it a secret?
It was probably, I'd say probably about 4 years until I couldn't cover it anymore.
He was trying to hide the fact that under his television makeup, his face was uncontrollably changing.
I don't know if you can imagine looking in the mirror and not seeing you.
You wrote at one point, you said, when I look at myself in the mirror, it's getting harder to see me. I look like a monster.
And not only did I wonder, did I see a monster? I wondered, did other people see a monster when they saw me, especially when kids cry when they see your face.
The mysterious white blotches transforming his face and traversing his entire body began 14 years ago with small, pale spots diagnosed by a dermatologist.
He said, you have a disease called vitiligo. It's where you lose pigment, and there is no cure. And I'm sure he kept talking because I saw his mouth moving. But I didn't hear anything he said, and I actually had to go, stop for a second, Doc. Did you just say there's no cure?
The disease is not fatal, but Lee thought it meant the death of his television career.
This is a cosmetic business, and a lot of things are based on your looks, and I just didn't leave room for a black man turning white to stay on TV.
When his hands began to turn white, he told his bosses and co-workers about the vitiligo, but not the whole story. But the disease became so severe he had to tell management and was met with a surprising reaction. They didn't want to fire him. They wanted him to tell his story on the air.
I didn't want to because I thought it was like a ratings thing, Look at the black guy turning white at 10,
But a teenager who had spotted the vitiligo in Lee's hands called him and urged him to speak out.
And I go, why? He goes, well, maybe people will treat me differently. And I never thought of it that way because I was so caught up in my own struggle. I never thought of other people. When he put it that way, it was an easy answer. The answer was yes. This is my face without makeup. I have a disease called vitiligo.
Lee decided to share all the facts and fears with his viewers.
I know of a kid who wears a mask to go outside and play because he's afraid of being teased. I've spoken to a woman who will not leave her house because she has this disease. I know how they feel.
Our viewers looked at Lee as being so courageous to be able to go on camera and show himself almost naked to the world. And I have never, ever seen a story that has had that kind of response.
There have been some reactions that weren't positive. I'll tell you, one of them is, lucky for you, God's turning you white.
We're a race-conscious society, especially in a city like Detroit, where you now live and work. I mean, what is that layer that's added to it when you're a black man, a public black man, who is turning white? I
think it forced me to clearly define myself as an African American. I was on a plane once, and I have my hoodie on, and a guy says to me, "Can I ask you a question?" I'm like, "Sure." He says, "Are you a black man or a white man?" And I stopped and I go, I'm all brother, yo.
That mysterious transformation from black to white was made famous in the very publicly changing face of Michael Jackson, who says he too suffers from vitiligo. His single white glove became more than a fashion statement for Lee, who tried to hide his changing skin.
One glove he used to wear, I used to wear one glove to cover it. So, I mean, I understand all of his struggles.
He's also a black man who's been very criticized for turning himself into a white man, whether he did it or not, the surgeries,
the whole thing. And I can't speak for that, but at least the vitiligo part of Michael Jackson, it's real. I want people to know that it's real, and it's really difficult to deal with. It's like an emotional battlefield to deal with the reaction of people.
People were afraid to shake your hand.
And they definitely would hesitate to shake my hand, or shake my hand and then go and wipe their hands. Like
Can I catch it?
Yeah. About 4 million people in this country have vitiligo. It's not contagious. You don't catch it from someone. It happens to all nationalities, all colors, white, yellow, brown.
Lee says he's now determined to spread understanding about the realities of vitiligo, a disease that has so far turned 35% of his skin white.
If I did turn more white than black, I would probably
switch the makeup?
Switch the makeup, yeah.
White makeup
instead of black makeup.
Has anybody ever asked you why you don't do the news without the makeup? Why don't you show your viewers your true face?
Right. The reason I don't is because I know for a fact that when I'm not wearing makeup, it is distracting for people. When I'm not wearing makeup, people don't hear me.
How did you get past the point where you say you felt like a monster? Where you say every time you had to look at yourself in the mirror, you would cringe?
I had to clearly define me past what I saw in the mirror. And I realized that I was the man I always wanted to be.
He's put a portrait of that man in a book, Turning White, meant, he says, to help anyone struggling with anything that threatens their self-respect or the pursuit of their dreams.
Thank you so much.
He offers himself as an example.
Thank you.
Pleasure, man. Good to meet you. Good to meet you.
A man once afraid to date now has a girlfriend.
When I project what's inside of me, I think people see that. Because no matter what color I am the same person.